Welcome to the NS9 postgame show powered by Primanti Bros. I am Ryan. With me is Doug. Doug, the Pirates win this game 12-1 over the Mets to complete a resounding, complete sweep that I can't even believe we're going to talk about in 2025. I don't know what just happened. We're going to give away sandwiches. Doug, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I mean, I knew the Mets were slumping coming in, but the Pirates are usually the elixir for that, right?
Exactly.
And not only did they win, they pounded them all 3 games. I mean, if you'd have told me at the beginning of this series that they would have had a position player pitching and throwing 42 miles an hour at the end of, I mean, just no way. The Pirates scored early. They scored often. They contribution from the stars, from the young guys, from the free agent additions. You just what a great weekend. A tribute to Dave Parker, I guess. I'm still a little sad there about that, but the Pirates swept the Mets, who were a longtime division rival back in Parker's days. So and I hope the Cobra's smiling.
Yeah, the Mets have to be ready to get out of Pittsburgh. This
Oh my gosh.
and they're what, a half or now a full game out of first place in the NL East, but
Right.
man, they could not do anything right this weekend, and the Pirates did everything right, including
Yeah.
pitching, defense, hitting, obviously, that we'll get into. But yeah, 12-1 today, and I made a joke yesterday, basically about they scored 9 runs with 1 extra base hit yesterday. Well, they must have heard me because they started this one off right away with a couple home runs and extra base hits left and right.
They had their Wheaties today. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we don't do this often, Doug. I was expecting a loss after the past 2 games with you and I on here, but we are giving away sandwiches tonight after the post game here. So if you're in the chat, which you should be, get the hashtag raise it in there. That'll get you entered for two free Primanti sandwiches after the post game show. We'll give away 2 of those. And right now we got 47 entries, so it's picking up. So keep them going. Hashtag raise it. We'll Doug and I don't do it often, but we'll give away sandwiches.
Yeah. I'm not sure we'll be able to do it effectively, but we will give it a good try.
We will give it a try. But before we get going, Doug, let me tell you about Bet Online. Bet Online continues to be your number one source for all your sports betting action. And with baseball in full swing and football season around the corner, Bet Online has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting. From MLB, UFC to tennis and NFL futures, Bet Online remains your choice for sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the Bet Online casino with all of your top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. Head to the website today and take advantage of their industry-leading VIP program with level-up bonuses and weekly cash boost. Bet Online, the game starts here.
You should have bet the sweep. You should have bet the Pirates. You could have got good money on that, right? That'd paid off nicely.
Yeah,
the Pirates in the over all 3 games.
They were a pretty good underdog going into today. I think the Mets were like minus 150 today, which, like I said, coming from the last 2 games, you're just expecting, it's Sunday. We'll give it up. And
Montas' pitching. I know he's just back off injury, but he pitched well. He didn't give up any runs in his first outing. You figure the Pirates have used up all their hits for a while, So yeah, right. You just did, and it's a 5-run first inning outburst. I mean, and it was so nice that they scored early in these games and then added on. 2 things they haven't really done much consistently this season. So, and very often when they score, it's 1 inning only that they score in, and that is, they score 3 runs in the 6th after they're down 7-0. So, I mean, just a great series for the Pirates. Mitch Keller got a win, which was nice, finally, deservedly so. Yeah, I mean, I guess where do we start? The first inning, right?
Yeah,
know?
let's start right off the bat because, like you said, Montes was in there, and the Pirates kind of greeted him right off the bat. And it all happened with 2 outs too, Doug.
Yeah,
So Reynolds, so Kutch starts it off 1 out, he gets a walk. Reynolds doubles, which June Reynolds, Prego Reynolds, whatever you want to call it. Reynolds
yeah,
is hot right now. Brian Reynolds
yeah,
is crushing the ball. So he doubles. You got 2 on. Horowitz comes up and he has a good at bat. He lines one to third base. We had like a expected batting average of like 580 on it. Just rips the ball right at the third baseman. Beatty makes a good play on it and gets the out. And you're thinking, oh, that was the Pirates' chance to get two quick runs here on the board on the Mets. And then it didn't really matter because Hayes comes up. Key Brian Hayes has been on fire as well this week, and he kind of hits like a dying quail bloop in the center, drops in, both runs score. So you're like, oh, the Pirates got their 2 runs anyway. Then Cruz comes up. Cruz, there was a lot talked about him getting benched after the play in center. He gets a couple of days off. They drop him in the lineup, and he comes right in here. I think it was first or second pitch, smokes
yeah.
it into the bleachers there, and
And
it's
he's
4
been
Pirates.
scuffling. He's been struggling. So that was nice to see. Um, I mean, he handled the benching well. He said all the right things. Um, I think his only frustration has been with himself, but it doesn't always manifest itself in the best ways. But yeah, I mean, it was just great. It's like, but wait, there's more, right? You're like,
Right.
it's like, hey, we've got a 4-run lead. This is fantastic. Oh, I can see clearly now. Tommy Pham is at the plate. Amazing, great. I once was blind, but now I see. I mean, it was all this stuff. It's like Tommy Pham. I mean, how often have we had? I think that's only the second time this season we've had back-to-back home runs. Um, and
Doug,
you know,
we haven't had too many multiple home run games, let alone
games.
back
Yeah,
to back in the same
that's
inning. I mean,
right.
come
Right.
on.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Pham has moved into a tie for like fourth place on the home runs. He's got two.
Yeah.
So,
So he homers right after Cruz, like you said, makes it 5-0. His second home run of the week and of the season. Hey, I don't know what contacts they gave him now, but keep him on him until the trade deadline, Doug, because
yeah,
Pham
exactly.
is all of a sudden he can see now. And all the jokes aside about a blind man, he can see clearly now. It's something to it because he literally called it. Like he had that game where he had a couple hits and he said, I got my contacts figured out. It's been a complicated situation. We're headed in the right direction. And he said, I think I have a
Yeah,
home run coming. He
yeah,
called
he
it
sure
and he
did.
and he
Yeah,
homered. I think the next day, and now
said
he
it,
homers
backed it up.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just 5-0 Pirates, and you're thinking, well, here's the sweep. Don't screw it up. And
yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, they
Now it's
just
there,
kept adding on.
and then Mike Burrows is up to the task, right? I mean, it's so great because it's been a sort of a theme of this season that we score runs and usually not five and then we give runs right back and
Exactly.
Burrows, young guy pitching a tough lineup against a tough lineup. I know they're struggling, but you're still going against Juan Soto and Lindor and Nimmo and Alonso, right? They are very good hitters and they're very confident in their abilities and they realize they're up against a rookie and he doesn't blink. I love him. I love Burrows. I tweeted it out. I want Burrows in the rotation for the rest of this season. I want them to start pushing him a little more on the innings. You know, I still want questions answered about this season. I want Ashcraft in the rotation. Like, let's see what these boys can do. Let's have some answers at the end of this season. And these guys look like they're up to it too. I mean, we're not giving a scholarship here. We're not giving a charitable grant. They're earning these opportunities. So yeah, just outstanding work by him. And I liked it the fact that they started Henry Davis. When Henry Davis catches Burrows, he seems to be outstanding.
Yes.
When Joey Bart catches him, it's not as good. Henry is earning his his spots. I mean, clearly he's going to catch for. It seems like he catches for Skeens and Keller. I say let's throw Burrows in there too. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of positives from this game. I know it's one game. I know it's one series, one weekend, but you have to be pleased with what you saw and feel good. And hopefully, tomorrow it continues with St. Louis.
Yeah, because you mentioned about Burrows, like we've seen it so often with you get a nice lead, and then the pitcher just kind of gets complacent, and they can't pitch with a big lead, or they walk a guy here and there, and then they get into some trouble. But Burrows came right back out, puts up a 0, and he was kind of nasty today, Doug. And
Yeah.
Burrows was a guy, he was a prospect coming up, and it was just not a guy I guess I wasn't that high on him, like there, with as far as comparing him to guys like Chandler and Ashcraft and some of the other names that we have in the rotation and coming up in AAA. Like, he just wasn't a guy that I was expecting much of. And it's like, okay, give him a shot, give him a couple starts, whatever. Maybe he'll pitch out of the bullpen.
They did
But
that. Yeah, that's exactly right. He was one of those guys where, like, yeah, he'll come up, he'll make a couple starts, but his place will eventually be in the bullpen. He might be a closer, he might be a nasty setup man, he might be a multi-inning reliever type. But right,
right,
because he was moving up the old prospect rankings and looking good, and people are starting to get excited. Then he committed the great sin of a prospect and had Tommy John surgery. So then we
yep,
just forget about him altogether, and we move on to Skeens, Jones, Bubba, and you sort of forget him. And he just toils away, puts the work in, comes back, and is pitched very effectively. They're definitely babying him, taking it easy with him, and it's fine to a point, but it's where I starting to get to a point where we want to push him a little. Let's get him. Let's see if he can get into the sixth inning, that sort of thing. I don't. I'm not mad at they took him out when they did. You wanted to leave. You wanted him leaving on a high note, with a positive outing. Um, you had the lead, so you were confident you could sort of pitch Majinski. I think they thought, right, we're just going to let Majinski finish it out after a little bit of Cabrera. And yeah, I get, Donnie pushing all the right buttons.
yeah. And
yeah,
it was a quick hook, but Burrows did pitch out of the the bullpen on, what was that, Wednesday,
I think so.
I
Yeah.
believe. So yeah, so like the bullpen was taxed yesterday. Like, they had to go because of the rain delay. They had a couple guys go. Ashcraft went over 50 pitches, so the bullpen was taxed. But at the same time, Burrows last week had to kind of jump in and coming out of the bullpen and I think he threw, I don't know if he had like 30 or 40 pitches that game. So yeah, so I'm fine with that. Like I said, he gave up the one solo home run, the Mets' only run of the game. Um, I I think he could have got the next two, but clearly he was on a pitch count at that point.
Yeah, he threw
I think
67 pitches. So, and
they
they
wanted
haven't
to
been
get him
letting
out of
him
there.
even go into the 70s, regardless of,
Yep.
whether he pitched in a bullpen or not. So, Mike
But
says
like
he
you
threw
said,
31 pitches.
every move Kelly has made with this bullpen, like yesterday bringing in Santana in the fifth inning and everything, which I love to see.
That
It's
was
worked.
great. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's worked. So yeah, like would you say, hey, I would have liked to see him go 5 to get the win when they were up 6-0, 5-0, whatever. But him pitching out of the bullpen and everything, and them, like you said, trying to keep him to a pitch count. It's I get it, and it's been working. Like, everything Kelly does with that bullpen management works. So it's hard to complain about it and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's,
and like
it's funny. Derek Shelton would say it every spring that, he was going to use guys based on matchups, and then never did. Went slavishly, you know, clung to Holderman in the eighth, Bednar in the ninth, that sort of thing. And I love what Donnie's doing. Bringing in Santana like that yesterday. And yeah, I mean, just again, I would have liked to seen Burrows go longer, but again, you had him out there on a high note, 4.1. He's 67 pitches, 31 on Wednesday. You just brought Cabrera up; he's a little fresh. Put him to work, and yeah, it's hard to complain with the results, right? No more runs were scored, you know,
yep.
after that solo shot. So
Yeah, so let's get back to the offense here, Doug, because this is just absurd. So, yeah, the
yeah,
Pirates outscore the Mets this series 30-4. Like, I can't even believe that's a real stat in 2025. Doug,
yeah,
Greg Brown was throwing out stats of, I think this was the highest run differential the Pirates beat an opponent in a series since 1975. This was also, it was the first time since, I believe he said, like May of 35 that the Pirates won every game in a series by 7 or more runs. Of course that would happen in a season where this offense has been so brutal, so
Right.
abysmal to watch. Of course that would happen in 2025. But everybody is hitting. Like, Cruz homers late for his second home run of the game. Hayes has 3 hits.
Two doubles from Hayes, right? I mean, Hayes has
Yeah.
got his OPS is up over 600. That's he's almost getting to being average, and or whatever. It makes him more valuable as a trade chip. I don't care. I tell you what, they hit so well this weekend. I'm nervous that Charrington will get to keep his job. That's how scary this is for me.
I think he was already keeping it, but I hear you. A lot of people have been worried
No,
about
it's right. I have a buddy who says all the time that Charrington's keeping the job, that he's sold Bob Nutting on. I've got Connor Griffin, I've got Bubba coming. Don't worry, dog, I got you. Just let's stick
Spencer
with the plan.
Horowitz was injured. That really threw the season off.
Nick was right. Yeah, if Nick Gonzalez and Spencer Horowitz finish with strong above average seasons, Ben's just going to say, see, I did the right things. And if Tommy Pham keeps hitting, these were good signings. We just a little bad luck. Just a little bad luck. That's all we've ever had. I'm a genius. I just have bad luck.
But Blake makes a good point here. Like IKF and Gonzalez, who have been 2 of the better hitters on this team, they weren't even in the lineup today. And Doug, you mentioned, Henry Davis getting the start to work with Burrows and everything, which was nice to see.
4 for 4.
Was this the quietest 4 for 4 game you've ever seen? Like he's down in the 9 hole at the bottom of the order. He didn't drive in any runs. Like that was a lot of Cruz and Hayes and Pham. Davis goes 4 for 4, scores twice. Like what a quiet 4 for 4.
Yeah, I mean the double was kind of a gift, right? Soto doesn't hold on to the ball, but hey, man, look, when you hit the ball that far, that's what happens sometimes. Outfielders don't get a good jump, or they don't hold on, or they run into the wall. But when you're weakly grounding out the shortstop all the time. So yeah, I mean 4 for 4. Henry Davis's OPS is 624. He's probably never going to reach the heights that we were envisioning when we drafted him, and with some of the stuff he did down in AAA, and when he hit 2 home runs off Shohei in one game. But he's become it seems like he's become a very good catcher defensively. And it takes catchers longer to learn to hit because they have so much else to focus on. And it's clear that he's been focusing on those other details. And the average hitter in MLB now hits 236. If he can get himself up to 230, 240, pop 15 home runs in a year and call the game and control the running game the way he does, I'm kind of getting a little enthused about him. So I mean, I want to see him getting more opportunities. That's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And like you mentioned, his OPS above 600. Pham's OPS is above 600 now. Hayes' OPS is above 600.
Right.
So like these guys are 600 is not good, but we're rising up.
We had guys that were low 5s. Like I said,
the whole lineup.
Tommy Pham was hitting 170. He's now hitting 230. Davis was hitting 140. He's hitting 207. And I know it's weird that we're celebrating, it's like we're guys that we would have been screaming to be cut for, hitting 207. Now it's like, hey man, he's almost up to 220. If he could hit 220.
Yeah. Hey, they're moving in the right direction. We'll take that because yes, it's low 600s, but it's better from where it was. But Pham has another hit today. He had the home run that we talked about in the first inning. Let's talk about Cruz. He has the home run in the first inning. He homers again in the 8th, late in the game, goes 2 for 4, 4 RBIs, 2 home runs. It was his 15th now on the season.
Yeah.
So they benched him. They bring him back. They drop him in the order. He was working out in the leadoff position for a long time this season. He's getting pitches to hit in that leadoff role and everything like that. And I think most everybody was was fine with it and it made sense. But it was like he was the one guy that was like driving in runs, and it's like you
Right.
kind of want people to be on base for him. Like he's more of the prototypical like middle of the lineup hitter. But he bats, what does he bat? He bats fifth today, no, sixth, I'm sorry. And yeah, he produces. So what'd you think about moving Cruz down? And hey, if
No,
it's not
well,
working, mix it
right.
up.
I mean, that's again, that is something I like. I mean, how often have you and I come on here and said, "Gee, I wish they would just try something different," right? You're right.
Yep.
I don't think Gorski's the answer, but it's better than what that sort of thing. So yeah, he's been struggling in the leadoff role, and honestly, as he was coming up through the minors, we never thought he was going to be a leadoff hitter. We expected him to be a 3, 4, 5 batter. So you move him down to sixth, maybe take some pressure off him. I mean, look, he is always, I mean, at his peak, he's going to have streaks and slumps.
Yep.
And so, he's going to be a difficult guy to manage in a lot of ways. Just, the big holes in the swing and the large strike zone and just the nature of his game. But yeah, if you can get him, comfortable and somewhere in the middle of the lineup. I mean, he's 15 home runs. He's got 27 stolen bases. He's improved. I mean, he's gotten better as his career has gone along. And yes, he's been in an awful slump. If he can snap out of it and have get himself going again, I mean, look, 30-30. Well, I mean, God, 30-50 is still on the table for this guy. So yeah, like again, and so yeah, so when if he's scuffling, he's struggling like he was, and he was taking it into the field with him. Yeah, bench him for a game, move him down in lineup, try something different. Don't just like this stubborn, like I keep saying, this slavish devotion to their plans that they came up with in February.
Yep.
It's like, all right, it's not working. Shake things up a little, and they seem to be willing to do that now. And hard to argue again with the results. I guess it's just been, I know he had a hit yesterday and stole a base, and today with 2 home runs, and yeah, I mean, man, if we get him going again, along with Reynolds, along with Nick, Spencer, Kutch, Hayes, the rest of the summer might be entertaining.
Right.
Right?
Just entertain me. That's all I want for the rest of the season. Or at least till the trade deadline. We'll see what happens then. But
yeah.
Yeah, like you're right. If it's not working with Cruz, mix it up. And I don't know, we've heard for months and how it's really Ben Sherrington's decision on this and that and the lineup and who's pitching on the pitch counts to win and everything. But it does seem at least since they made the manager move, like Kelly's been managing things a little differently. Like if you don't believe that, because I know there's the running joke on Twitter, like, oh, he's managing the same and it's all Donnie ball but if you think they're managing the game the same, like you're not watching the games. Like that's the only thing I keep coming back to, because Shelton would have never had brought Santana in.
That's exactly it. These
yesterday.
bullpen moves, like I said, Shelton, he'd be going, geez, can I get Holderman in? No, he's on the IL. Are you sure I can't bring him in? I mean, it's so, yeah. I mean, you cannot dramatically manage a game differently, right? You have the same roster. You have your back end guys of the bullpen, that sort of thing. You're not just gonna, I'm gonna have Paul Skeens come in and close out the ninth. No, that's not what you're going to do. You sort of have to work with those 6 relievers that 7 relievers that you have. But yeah, there no way Shelton would have brought in Dennis Santana in the 5th inning, right? When the game was a 1-run game, and that was probably the most important high leverage situation in the game. And so yeah, he's doing stuff, and I don't know, they seem a little more aggressive on the base paths, right?
Is it Gene Lamont, Doug? Paul Ski here asks, is it Gene Lamont?
I mean, what have they always said about Gene Lamont? He's an old school good baseball man. He's a good baseball man. I can't believe he's doing anything to hurt, and that he's not completely dependent upon analytics, right? Like he didn't have them his whole career. So there's probably and it's funny, the thing about analytics, like I love analytics, they're essential. it can't be the only thing, right? You got to be. But I don't also like. I just recently read a book about the '71 Pirates. The team that changed history, the first team to have an all non-white lineup out there. And when you read about that '71 World Series, uh, gosh, Earl, the Baltimore manager, anyway, Earl Weaver
Weaver,
and
yeah,
Danny Murtaugh, they each did things in those series based on hunches or whatever that were just awful. Didn't work out. Earl Weaver's a Hall of Fame manager. Danny Murtaugh should probably be in the Hall of Fame. They needed some analytics, right? you know, um,
right.
and so like I'm a big believer, but once in a while, there are other mitigating factors too. You have to look at the situation when just because 70% of the time something happens here, well, you got Jared Triello up, it doesn't mean it's going to be 70. He's not a good hitter, right? It's a little more, it's probably better there to bunt, than expect to hit. So and it seems like Donnie Kelly, obviously they're still using analytics, but it seems like, situationally, he looks at things and says, all right, maybe we should do something here because the expected result is not a double.
As Jim
Donnie
says,
Kelly
Don
better.
Kelly better than Earl Weaver. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's got to be a merging of the two.
Right.
And I, like I said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes and who was really calling shots before and now and all that, but it sure feels different. And they're playing better baseball. And I mean, good Lord, they just scored 30 runs against the Mets in a weekend series. So,
Right.
um,
And I mean, I'll be the
just
first to
crazy.
say that has probably nothing to do with Donnie Kelly, right?
Right.
That's the players got hot, the Mets didn't pitch well, the Mets are slumping, all these factors. But there have been lots of times that teams have come in kind of slumping and not, and there, lots of times pitchers are coming off their worst outing and then have their best outing against the Pirates. So the Pirates took advantage, they capitalized. Yeah, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim, I swear.
Yeah, he's got Rosati's got the stats there.
Yeah.
But let's talk. So let's finish up with Burrows goes four and a third. Obviously not able to get the win, but I think he's looked better pretty much every time he's been out. Cabrera comes in. Like I mentioned yesterday, the bullpen was taxed because of the rain delay. Cabrera throws a scoreless inning. He's been good in his two outings since joining the Pirates. And then they go to Majinski, which Majinski was the one guy he hadn't pitched in four days. So I kind of figured he would follow Burrows in this game. And he gets the win, Doug, which, can't give it to Burrows because he didn't go 5. So he could have got the same.
But you
He could have
can
got
give
the
it to
3 innings.
Majinski.
Yeah.
You can't give it to Majinski, who went 3.2.
He could have got
one
the
of those
3
weird
innings save.
Yeah.
He can't
I know
get
that's
the win
what I
and
was
the
hoping
save.
for.
But
I thought, I went on to look to see, and I'm like, oh, Majinski got the win. I thought he'll get the save, and I don't know. It's scorer's discretion. I think you can still give it to the starter. He's not automatically, ineligible for getting it. But
no, I think he is. I think you have to go 5. And then at that point, once they don't go 5, then you can give it to like anybody that effectively pitched in the next,
yeah,
go around. But yeah, it could have been Cabrera. Majinski could have got the save, but he gets the win today. But Majinski was great. Like 2 strikeouts in 3 2/3 inning, only gave up a couple hits. The Mets were kind of just trying to get out of Pittsburgh, I think, at the
I
end of this game.
remember. Wasn't there a group of podcasters who, from the beginning of the season on, were saying, Majinski would be a very effective multi-inning reliever? I can't remember who they were, but
I think you're right. I think you're right.
yeah,
There was a good group.
it was
that said that.
Neil. I'm sure it was Neil. It was, it was
I
Neil.
think it was everybody
I
because
think it was
that seemed
everybody,
to
right?
be the most obvious move in history,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they finally did it a week after saying they only viewed him as a starter this year. So
Yeah, I brought my friend over from Barcelona, a diehard soccer fan, never watched a baseball game in his life, and he's like, you guys should use that Majinski at the end of the games, But I know anybody, it was pretty obvious, but
it's
we
staring him right in the
we
face.
stuck with it. But yeah, it was great. I mean, just a great effort from him. Cabrera, again, he's been decent in his 2 outings. He could be another Charrington special, taking a guy off the scrap heap who was bad for better teams than we are. Bad for teams that gave him more run support and probably fielded better and played better altogether. But we get them, and they just, I mean, getting out of Yankee Stadium has never hurt a pitcher ever. But
No, you're right there.
Jim's on fire today. Jim has clearly been drinking, but just enough, and just enough to make him feisty, but still really smart. So.
Yeah, look at this. Pirates 6-0 against the Phillies and Mets at PNC. And if you remember back to the series in New York that they played the Mets, they won the last game 4-0, and they lost the first two of that series by 1 run. Go figure. But yeah, they could have been a real good season series against the Mets this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, they're no more than a game out of first place in the East. They're a very good team. They have a $300 million payroll, and we just swept them. I don't care. I think that puts us at 13 games under 500. I mean, it's not the no, 15, 35 and 50. Sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of the wet blanket on the whole thing, looking at the Pirates record, because they have been playing better. I think they're just 1 game under 500 with Don Kelly as manager. They sweep the Mets here, but yeah, this season's over. And like you said,
yeah.
Doug, you just want some answers this season, and that's what we're looking for. We need answers
right
on
now. It's
a bunch
time
of guys.
to put these talented, what we think are talented players out there, and let them kind of sink or swim. I'm hoping it's a new GM making the decisions, but yeah, I want to know, can Ashcraft be a starter? It's been a question the whole time. His durability has been a question, but he's pitched effectively against both left-handed hitters and right-handed hitters. Let's stretch them out. I mean, we're going to trade some starters at this deadline.
Yeah.
And I personally think we should trade Bubba, because his value will never be higher, and you could get, you should be able to get the hitting equivalent of what Bubba Chandler is.
Well, you would if you had a GM you trusted.
No. And that's the problem. The problem is I don't want Ben Cherington making that trade. We'll get a middle infielder who can't play shortstop, who is not a good fielder at second baseman, who has no pop. And that's,
Yeah. Let's not trade Bubba yet. All right. So get your hashtag raise it in. We're going to give away sandwiches here in a couple minutes. We have 117 entries right now, Doug. So let's get the 120 and over. Hashtag raise it. Get entered into the drawing here for the sandwiches.
Subscribe, join. Do we have a show tonight to talk about? Is there?
We don't.
No, we don't. Okay.
The guys are working on something, but it's kind of it's an off-air show, non-live. It'll be they'll talk about it later this week.
Okay, yeah. I'm our corporate overlords don't really include me in these kind of things. So
right. They barely include me in them anymore, Doug. So I'm with you. But we got 119. Let me present my screen here and see if I can see if we can do this. Because Lord knows we don't give out too many sandwiches.
Yeah, come on, people. Get excited.
Bracket. All right, here we go. So 119 entries. Can we get 120? 120, hashtag raise it, anybody? Doug sign. Oh, there it is, 120.
Yeah, we got one.
All right, here we go.
Murphy.
Here we go. So
Murph.
Drawing number 1. Good luck to everybody. Let's see who it is.
I didn't enter to keep it fair.
Oh, you could have been 121.
I know.
Alan Balamo.
Is it Balamo? Bayomo? I don't know what it is.
Bayomo. Congrats, Alan. Find us on social media, Twitter, North Shore 9. You can email us, northshore9@gmail.com. We'll get those loaded to your Primanti's app.
Download that Primanti's app. Yeah.
Yep. And here we go for the third and fourth sandwiches we're giving out today. Oh, look at this. Stanley
Murphy almost got that. He was the 120th entry. Boy. Stanley Yip, congratulations. I think that's a new name to me. I don't know if he's won before.
I don't recognize I don't think we've seen the name on there before either. So Stanley, congrats. We will get at us. We'll get the sandwiches.
This is fun. I forgot what it was like to give away sandwiches. How much fun was that?
I'm telling you, Doug, I did not have high hopes for this game today. So the fact that the Pirates win 12-1 just shows, like you
in
said,
all fairness,
something else was happening.
like if they, they could have lost this game and we still really wouldn't, should have had a lot of complaints, right? They took a series from the Mets. So right, to get the sweep, to finish the sweep, good on the Pirates. Good for them. Nicely done.
Like you said, it could have been a I don't know, divine intervention with Dave Parker news.
I think Dave Parker's up there. So
because I don't know how they won on a game that you and I are doing a post game.
And I would just like to say, right, Dave Parker was my first, favorite. He was so good. He was everything I wanted to be when I was 12. He was big, he was strong, he was fast, he was intimidating, and he was cool. And I have never been any of those things. So
you're cool now, Doug.
Yeah. So, and I wish you guys could have seen him in his prime and could understand my fascination. I wish you could have watched that 1979 All-Star game. I used to go every Monday. My mother would take me into town. We'd go to the library. There was two old guys there, and we'd talk baseball. They're the guys that got me about reading baseball books. They gave me Ball 4, all this different stuff. So, they're Monday. They're like, "What do you think's going to happen in the All-Star game tomorrow?" All-Star game's on Tuesday, and I'm like, "Parker's going to win the MVP," and they kind of laugh me off, And I mean, I'm telling you, and this is back before ESPN. This is back before social media. This is, it was like they were like, waiting, on their heels for me to come in the following week. And they're like, "Oh my God, did you see those throw?" It's a week later and it's still stuff that people were talking about. It was such a big deal. It was so just cool. So awesome. He was just a brilliant player. So and I'm telling you, and like, I love Kutch and I'm believing more and more in Kutch's Hall of Fame case. I loved Bonds when he was here. Like, I never felt that those guys were as good. And I'm not saying they weren't. I mean, obviously Barry Bonds and Kutch have had better career, all that sort of stuff. Man, Dave Parker was something. So rest in peace, Dave Parker. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm glad that he knew he was going to the Hall of Fame. Yep. I wish he could have given a speech, but man, he was something to watch.
He's given this. I mean, I guess he wrote the speech. And
he wrote it. And I think his son's gonna deliver it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, look, we're Doug and I are trying to get there next month for the induction in Cooperstown. Cooperstown does not have very many Airbnbs and hotels. So
yeah.
if you're from the area and you want to lend your house out to Doug and I, let us know. But we are trying to make it happen. So we'll see. Cause I know how popular he was with you and everything. And I did like Ron Darling came on, I think it was during the rain delay, came on to the broadcast yesterday. And he I never thought of it like this. He said he was like our judge, like that, his size and everything. Like he was like their judge of that era. And, that kind of, made me think and was like, oh yeah, like it's, I could see it. So
he was the guy they were always talking about. He could play tight end for the Steelers. And this is back with a little kind of a tougher era, and it wasn't a joke. It was like, this guy, I mean, he was that kind of athlete. And
right.
I mean, he got his jaw broke and was out a couple of days later wearing a hockey mask, I mean, it was just
that pictures of that is great. Of that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, he was just, he was just so intimidating. And he was one of the bigger players at the time, 6'5". I mean, he was on the cover of every national magazine. He was on Sports Illustrated, Sport Magazine, Inside Sports, all that stuff. I mean, he was like Ron Burgundy. He was a big deal,
Right.
And it's, I mean, baseball was still America's pastime then. It had not been usurped by the NFL. The culture of personality of what, with what the NBA is hadn't taken place yet. I mean, he was the most dominant athlete in the most popular sports at a time when, 30 million people were watching a Monday Night Baseball game type thing, not on just local cable and that sort of thing. So, I feel very fortunate that I got to see him play. I am looking forward to his enshrinement. And again, just rest in peace to, just my first, true, like this, it was him and Dr. J, man, those were my guys. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, he Hall of Fame, it should have happened a lot sooner. But at least he knew.
But he knew. So that's good. Yeah.
And but yeah, the people have spoken to Doug that you are cool. You are cool.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
so at least you got one. You weren't a 6'7"
It took a while.
MLB hitter, but you are cool.
Yeah.
So at least you got one thing going for you. But thanks, guys, again. Just a crazy, great series from the Pirates this weekend against the Mets. And hey, the Cardinals are in town next, and the Cardinals are hot too. They just swept the Guardians in Cleveland, so hopefully the Pirates can keep it going against them.
Yeah, it'd be fun to keep it going against the
Cardinals.
Know
better. We know better. The black magic will speak and throw its pixie dust everywhere. But we'll see. Cardinals are coming up tomorrow, and we'll be back with another post game. And like, subscribe, and everything. And that's all I got, Doug.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, guys. Always grateful for our chat. You guys are fantastic. Glad we got to give out sandwiches. Yeah, and tomorrow Bucko Brew, at least. I'm sure that Bucko Brew will be going on, and I'm sure they'll have a lot of great things to talk about. So
they'll have all the stats and numbers from this series.
Yeah, they'll give you much better, analysis than we did. But that's fine. That's fine. That's what Jim and Donardo are here for that. You hear a lot of WOBA and WRC plus. I'm still talking batting average, but wait.
Right, Doug. All right, let's get out of here. We'll see you guys. Thanks again. Peace.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.